It's the Sleepers Podcast. It's Friday, June 7th, and the Rizzler himself has returned. Riley Davis is back in action. He looks tan in an all beige room. Carter also looks tan in an all beige room. Carter, am I allowed to say you look tan? Is that a thing that's okay for me as a white man to say about you?
I mean, I constantly am tan, but I'll allow it.
Okay. Well, you look great. Both of your complexions look lovely. I look very pale in a non-beige room.
You're wearing a white zip up. What you were asking for it?
Well, normally white would make me look like I have a little color because, white on white, one white's a little different. It's off-white,
Understood.
Yeah, understood. Anyway, Riley, how are you?
I'm doing well. Your comments on the beige rooms, it does make me feel it's a little asylum-like with both Cart and I with these white walls. I know I've teased that eventually we will redo this room and I have a backdrop in the works, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's a sign that we're in line for some weird vibes this show because we're recording this right after this Dan Hurley Woj bomb dropped this morning. Won't be related to any of the topics. I'll go ahead and get ahead of that just so people know as they're listening. But it's sort of shaking me up this morning, and not necessarily in a bad way by any stretch. I think I don't know. I've enjoyed how much UConn fans like to troll Duke fans. I delight in that. At the same time, I think UConn fans have gotten a little big for their britches, and it's kind of funny to see them potentially get cut down if Hurley leaves them. But yeah, I think this could be the type of situation that has a ton of ripple effects for the college basketball landscape, not just with the UConn job opening up, but of course portal. And then if they go outside of the UConn tree, more guys into the portal, and you never know. And it's fun to get that like in early June when this stuff is really supposed to be slowing down.
It is. It's a chaotic morning. I like it. I like chaotic energy. Cart, I can't help but feel that you are feeling a feeling of despair behind a smile that you're forcing today. Is everything okay?
Yeah, I'm good. Why?
I don't know. I get the sense that just from looking at you, like you're hiding some horrible depression today.
Not today. No.
Not today. Okay. I'm just checking
Yeah.
on my guy. That's all I'm trying to do. All right.
Appreciate that.
Good to know. Okay. All right. Why don't we start with a YouTube comment today?
Okay, this one comes from Andre Gray, and he said, "Laugh my ass off. This show is horrible."
What video is that on?
Coleman Hawkins options.
I don't think we did anything horrible in that video.
Neither did I. Andre, I think you're horrible. You commented that 44 minutes ago. That's like honestly a hater comment before 10 a.m. Good on you on that one. I always like getting my hating done early and out the way. But I don't know, maybe just fire up another coffee, have a Danish. By the looks of your profile picture, you strike me as a Danish guy. Have a Danish and just relax and listen. And thank you for your comment.
Have a Danish is crazy. I would be disgusted if someone referred to me as a Danish guy.
Who of the three of us was the last one to have a Danish?
I feel like you had a Danish today, Riley.
My bet is on Greg. I feel confident.
I don't think Greg's ever had a Danish in his life.
I've never had a
Really?
Danish. Yeah. Never.
Greg strikes me as someone who would have had a Danish within the past 6 months.
No. So I don't think I've had a Danish in years.
I don't know what any of this means, but I have not had a Danish in my life. No.
Riley had a Danish within the last 2.5 months, and it was a homemade Danish that he made.
I am a good baker. I have never made a Danish. I can't remember the last time I had one. Probably at like a hotel breakfast. You mean to tell me neither of y'all were crushing some Danishes at a hotel breakfast during College Hoops to Go just like a year and a half ago?
No, we had more pride than that. We were biscuits and gravy, the waffle maker, possibly
absolutely not a biscuits and gravy guy, but go ahead.
Possibly a muffin. A muffin was always a good one to grab. Also on those trips, Greg didn't eat, so there wasn't much food consumption on those things.
I've heard Vicks Vapo Rub really kills your appetite, so that makes sense.
Again, I don't know who Cart was gallivanting around the Midwest with that was rubbing Vicks Vapo Rub all around themselves. It wasn't me. Can I get a quick top 3 breakfast I guess what's that word? Like a grains, a breads, like a muffin.
Yeah, like a baked. Well, not a
Yeah,
baked good because
baked
are
breakfast
bagels in
goods.
there? Okay.
Baked breakfast goods. Give me a top 3 power ranking each of us.
Ooh,
Biscuit is my number one. Biscuit is like,
over bagel?
yes, dude. A biscuit smokes bagels all day, every day.
Okay, yeah, you're tripping.
This
I'm
is
gonna go
why
ahead and.
this is why we need to get y'all to the South, and I can actually introduce you to some good biscuits in my neck of the woods.
Oh, God forbid, I'm not excited to come to the South, Riley. But I think I'd go bagel muffin, and then honestly, just a nice piece of bread, like a nice piece of toast.
Yeah, I like that shout. I would have thought about that.
Yeah.
I'm going muffin 1. I'm going a sourdough toast 2.
Oh, good
And
That's
one.
a good choice.
I'm gonna go bagel 3. I think bagel's too versatile. It has to be.
Yeah. I'm glad none of us had donut. That makes me feel good.
No. Number 2 for me would be cinnamon
Ah!
roll. 3 would be bagel.
Love a cinnamon roll. I do.
Cinnamon rolls smack.
Cinnamon rolls
Cinnamon
do
rolls are kind
slap.
of slept
Shout out to
on.
Annie. Shout out to Annie cinnamon rolls.
Can I get a quick what's wrong with donuts, Cart? I am a donut guy from time to time.
I honestly, I don't like starting my day with like that much sugar. I just
I
feel
feel that.
bad. Like I'd like a donut.
I
Honestly,
agree.
I feel like a donut should be a night food more than a morning food.
I like that take from you, actually. I would just stand for the idea of like in a group setting, or maybe you're hosting people, maybe a couple hunks are at your house moving junk for you, hauling junk for you, and you need to like deliver some breakfast on behalf of the whole room. I would really go to bat for like a box of a dozen donuts.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. We're gonna move on after this, but I will say this: it might not be the best, it might not be in the top 3, but there's nothing more impactful than bringing a box of donuts to some environment. Like if I'm bringing a
Yeah.
box of donuts into the warehouse for my guys, they're swarming.
Yeah,
Okay, if it's bagels, not as much excitement.
if you brought a
Yeah.
box of muffins to your warehouse guys, what would they do, Cart?
Probably make fun of me.
You'd be cooked.
Yeah.
If you bring a box of a dozen donuts, though, you got to go variety. Don't come at me with 12 glazed donuts. Like that shows that's lazy. That's the I could care less breakfast. I need to see a little bit of effort, a little bit of forethought, mix it up with some chocolate glaze, mix it up with like a nice blueberry cake donut, maybe
I love
yeah.
Riley so much. I truly do. Just like a blueberry cake donut shout is it's just you're not getting it anywhere else. That's just is what it
In
is.
180 seconds, he went from, yeah, I don't like starting my day with that much sugar, to, can I please get a blueberry cake donut? Like, that's just special. All right, good work, boys. Let's jump to the Discord. Join the Discord, of course. We would love to see you in there. It is $9.99 a month. It goes directly to us so that we can pay people like Riley to appear on this very program on an ongoing basis. Yeah, that's right. I said it. We are a company now, and we have a payroll, and Riley Davis is on it. Be angry about that if you will. We read the comments every single day. Cart, I don't remember where we left off again yesterday. What'd we leave off with?
I want to say it was Guy's comment.
We did universally hated from CTK, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we did Guy's Maryland team. Have we talked Maryland from Guy?
No.
Okay, so this is Guy's high major comment from day 42. I've been told that this Maryland team will be different. This Maryland team has a chance to do something. This Maryland team will be special, but this Maryland team doesn't have anything I like. This Maryland team brings back players who we want to pretend are good. DHS, Kaiser, etc. This Maryland team loses CUSA legend Jameer Young. This Maryland team brings in Jacoby Gillespie, who's great, but feels like a stretch to become Jameer. This Maryland team is still coached by a bald man, Kevin Willard. This Maryland team is at best the Willard signature 8 seed, but this Maryland team will likely miss the tournament. Snaps for Guy. Riley, what do you
Wow.
think?
Didn't Jamie Kaiser transfer out? Maybe
Yeah,
that
he
should be
did.
my first. Where's he
Yeah.
at now?
I don't know, but he transferred.
He's not at Maryland, correct?
I don't get the leagues that the way that Guy latches on to certain leagues and or players and or teams makes no sense to me, but I applaud the effort. I I love Derek Queen. I think Derek Queen's a star, and that makes me not want to be out on this Maryland team. But those outside of that, though, I don't know. Maybe they'll be like I could see them like a bubble team. Maybe they sneak into the play-in or something.
Hart?
Mr. Tournament's crazy, but nothing is ever impossible with Mr. Willard at the helm. Let's just say that. But I'm hoping that Derek Queen can save us. I'm a Terp this year, by the way, if you didn't know.
Wow, I am very saddened by this development. I actually love this take from Guy. I think it's a really good one. I think if we are all being completely honest about this, all the issues that Maryland had last year are probably still present, and Jacoby Gillespie's definitely worse than Jameer Young. So I don't know why people are immediately swooping in to say everything's going to be different. I guess we will wait and see. If Deshaun Harris-Smith is still in the starting lineup, I think the team's going to have massive problems. He was just really, really bad, and I'm surprised they seem to be wanting to run it back. Sully says, quote of the day, quote, Randy, I've decided to lay off the food for a bit and go on the booze. That's Jim Leahy.
What?
Yeah, I don't know. Burner says, can we take a moment and pour one out for my boy Elmarco Jackson? Was about to take a big jump sophomore year. Riley, your thoughts?
Feel terrible for him. Would have liked to see what he could do in that second year under Self, who I still believe is the best at player development in the country. So,
Yeah, I feel bad for him too. But, and this is not a butt to make any light of the injury, but like Bill Self didn't even let Elmarco schedule his surgery before he made a call and replace that man. Bill Self is a psycho in the greatest way possible.
Yeah, he really is. Yeah, yep. It's sad. I do feel bad for Elmarco, but also like Elmarco, with all due respect, if he was healthy, I don't think was going to play a ton this year. I think the writing was on the wall, and maybe Elmarco should have considered going somewhere else in the first place. That's not saying that if the injury happened, he would still be hobbled no matter where it went. But I am sad for him and for Kansas. Guy says, rank the following connective tissues in the body. Sounds like a great question for you, Riley. He has the LCL, the patellar tendon, the meniscus, the labrum, the UCL, and the plantar fascia.
patellar tendon first. You definitely got to keep your knees in order. And if you've ever had patellar tendonitis, you know it can be something that lingers and completely just hinders your mobility, hinders your explosiveness as well. Never forget, y'all have seen a video of me dunking. That was patellar tendonitis. I'll put plantar fascia number 2. Same type of reason. If you ever had plantar fasciitis, it's one of those lingering type of injuries that just doesn't go away and it can flare up at any time. These are more the two of the more important connective tissues in the human anatomy. You want to make sure you take care of them. You want to make sure you stretch. You want to make sure you do your plyometrics. Maybe get a little resistance band work in there as well to preserve them. I don't really care about all the stuff in between, but meniscus would definitely be last. I don't think anybody really needs a meniscus. How many times do we hear of guys playing on torn menisci or having little procedures to get the meniscus cleaned up? It's an unnecessary connective tissue. It is basically like I would say like the Jamie Kaiser of connective tissues. Nice to have, but you're
Wow.
not really sad if it moves on.
Wow, harsh stuff there, but okay. All right. Let's move on. Unless, Cart, you have any thoughts on connective tissues.
No, I think connective tissue is honestly probably 47% mental.
Guy says, since I've been told that rapping is one of the things I'll need to do in the next 14 years, I should workshop some rapper names. I'm a lanky white guy whose name starts with G. I could always just be G-Easy too, but here are some other good ones. G-Force, Guy, Big G, Big Guy, G-Centric, G-Wiz. Carter, I feel like this is your area of expertise. Your thoughts?
Yeah, you can't take G Wiz. That's already spoken for, first of all. I don't know. I think something around your appearance might help, or the fact that you have the deep voice of Keith Jackson also might help as well. So maybe like a little deep voice, a little bowl cut. Geyser also is one that I think you should maybe throw in there as an ode to Weezer, because I feel like you like Weezer. Those are probably the three options I'd go with.
Not awful. Riley, your thoughts?
Geyser is dope. It's probably my favorite so far. He could just do Guy for real, as in Guy FR, like a Substack. Um,
I like that actually.
I actually think Guy FR in like all lowercase might be a winner.
Guy for real is really good. My proposal was just going to be that guy. That guy.
That works. I mean, your name is Guy. You have a lot of options.
Yeah.
Is it Guy?
It's Guy. Same Old Lion says, with news of the Utah Jazz returning to their Purple Mountain jerseys, what are some of your favorite old school NBA jerseys and logos? A couple of my favorites: Utah Jazz, Vancouver/Memphis Grizzlies, Denver Nuggets, Toronto Raptors. Riley, your thoughts?
I love the teal Pistons jerseys. I said it last summer when I was convinced that Osar was the one. I was like, I need an Osar Teals Pistons jersey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those are great jerseys. By the way, those white Jazz jerseys are incredible. I will be getting a Keontae George one immediately. The shout that I always give, I love the old school Sonics jerseys. Any of those Sonics jerseys were great, especially like my first one was a Ray Allen Sonics jersey. It was yellow with green cursive on it. Great jersey. All the Sonics jerseys hit. Every single one they released was phenomenal.
Yeah, those are very good. I like all the ones that have been mentioned. I would throw out the old school Houston Rockets blue pinstripes with the big like rocket ship on the front. I always really liked those.
Those are nice too.
I had when James Harden first got to the Rockets, I had that jersey but with Harden on the back, and I wore that.
You had a James Harden jersey? That is so off brand for you.
I know. That I used to love James Harden before he got awful, like personally,
Yeah, feel that.
Yeah, Ulamog says, Riley, I request today's scripture reading be from the book of Song of Solomon. King Solomon seems to have an affinity for doe breasts. In that spirit, which animals do y'all find attractive?
I will not be doing a reading from Song of Solomon, but I appreciate the suggestion from Ulamog.
Do you want to answer what animal you find attractive, Riley?
I got to think on this. Anybody?
I mean, there's some options. I would go either peacocks just because they're pretty, or baboons because they got wagons.
I would say Bambi.
I could see Bambi.
Yeah.
Deer was my first thought.
Yeah. Mine's less like deer, the animal, and like just Bambi specifically.
Okay. Certified pedophile.
You guys want to move on?
I'm just saying, Bambi was like what, 4? She was a doe,
No,
deer, a female deer.
Bambi was extremely of age.
Okay, just making sure.
Let's move on.
Okay.
Thank you, Ulamog, so much for that. Same Old Lion says, I can see it now. It's Wednesday, July 17th. Greg has still yet to talk about Tang again. 17 minutes into the recording, Melba breaks down the door of Greg's office and yells, it's time to pay your bet. She then pours a gallon of Tang down Greg's throat to start the payment process of the bet. Carda, any update on the Tang bet?
At this point, it's just, can you sleep at night knowing you have an unpaid bet out there?
I'll pay the bet.
When, Gregory? When?
I'll pay the bet.
I ask.
Dylan Terpstra says, I've come to the conclusion that Greg is just an elite peer pressurer, which is why Carter always falls to him in arguments and other things.
Very, very elite.
Just like a yes, like no additional commentary. I don't try to be that.
Dude, don't give me that.
You don't think so?
Greg, yes, I think you 100% try to peer pressure, and you know it, and that's why I went to bat for Carter last week, saying no, you can get a 3 for your buzz cut.
Exactly.
This is why I did not take. We had an Armando Bacot NBA future bet lined up at the Final Four that you kept trying to negotiate it down for how many years it would take for Armando to stick on a roster, and I wasn't going to give you the satisfaction of working down the number of years that I wanted, because I know this now. You are elite at it. It is one of your top 3 skills probably. But we, as your friends, as your inner circle, have a duty to not always give in to your whim and capricious desires that just pop up.
I just think there's a difference between negotiation and peer pressure. I would say I'm like tactically negotiating is a skill set. I don't know about peer pressure.
That's somebody who's an elite peer pressure would say.
Oh boy. Guy says the new thing I've been doing at parties is going up to drunk people, parentheses, I don't drink, mind you, and ask just straight up absurd questions. Last weekend, I was asking people if they would jump on the bed for anyone, like the BYU thing, since they can't violate their authoritarian Mormon code. Anyway, love being dead sober, asking absurd questions to drunk people.
More power to you, guys. Maybe a different question though. If that's my one caveat.
I would just be careful with that. Like I think like there's a charm to like, ooh, I'm 17 and my friends are drinking and I'm not. I'm gonna go mess with them. Like when you get to college, I'd be careful with that approach if that's your approach. But that's for another day. Malik Perry says once again Carter is wrong about the animal kingdom because they can be toxic. Good example is the killer whales or the bullies of the sea.
When did I even talk about the animal kingdom?
Carter could do one thing to make MSU great, and what he choose, not a 5. You'd make a great genie, LOL.
Hey, you know what? At this point, I just have to be the scapegoat for Michigan State's fan base. Everything's my fault. I always make everything wrong. I'm always too negative. This, that, and the third. Shout out to my dog, Goof Coop. Can't wait to watch the 5 rotation this year.
In Michigan State's defense, they did like steal the best assistant away from their rival program who's put 10 players in the pros and is a great guy. And your response was like, yeah, I don't love the rest of the staff.
Because I don't.
Like, I think you're starting to deserve the like, this guy's just negative to be negative takes, I feel like.
I resent that.
I mean, I'm also negative to be negative, but like Sadi's, it was a huge win. You weren't even excited about it.
Yay.
Yay. Final one from Malik. Sometimes you have to throw hands at your teammates, but at the end you have to hug it out like brothers.
Facts. Definitely have been a part of that situation before.
Yes. Maynard says, do you guys remember former Arizona Wildcat Chase Budinger? He was selected to the Olympic volleyball team. I used to cook with him in College Hoops 2K8. What are some of your favorite random college basketball players from the 2000s? Riley, go first on this one.
Raymond Felton, Amari Stoudemire, and J.R. Smith were low-key unstoppable in like 2K13.
Honestly, Chase Budinger was pretty good on the Rockets, like as a piece on that NBA, whatever 2K that was. Whenever you bring up that college basketball video game, though, easily answer for me, Scotty Reynolds, unstoppable in that game, completely, and one of my favorite players.
He was good. Josh Childress, Justin Gray, Wake Forest, and Kyle McIlarney are my answers. I love those guys.
What answers?
Maynard also says, I hate North Carolina as much as the next guy, probably more, but I think the Jalen Washington slander is going to come back to bite everyone. I'm expecting a big junior year jump from him this year. What do you guys think his floor and ceiling are this season?
I mean, if his knees hold up like Megan Stallion, I think he could be good. I just think he can't check anybody or defend anybody. He is a absolute net negative on the defensive end. But if you're willing to accept that and he gives you something offensively, then I guess you live with that and you're okay. But like Jalen Washington has the same defensive acumen as Jackson Kohler.
Yeah, this will get into one of our topics for today. I think Cart hit the nail on the head with the defensive side of the floor. He actually was pretty mobile, like in ball screen coverage last year.
He should be better.
Yeah, it's a strength or lack thereof that I think hinders him. He gets bullied in the post, but he threw down some dunks through traffic last year that I didn't really know he had in his game. Like he was tougher around the basket than I really expected. Nice face-up game. I think his ceiling's probably like 10 points, 7 boards a game. Floor, it would be basically what he did this past year, and he's relegated to 8 minutes a game as I don't know. That would be like worst case scenario though.
Yeah, when Michigan State tries to start a guy who averaged 3 and 2 last year, it's disgusting. But when North Carolina tries to start a guy that averaged 3 and 2 last year, it's cute and great. I don't get that one. I just think
Well,
this guy's bad.
Jalen Washington, he at least has pedigree. He was a top 25 recruit before his knee injuries.
Yay! That's what Madi Sissoko was like.
Well, the thing is, I get where you're coming from, G. Just awful example of Michigan State because the guy that Jalen Washington was playing behind was all ACC. The 3-2 guy that our guy was playing behind was 5-5.
I get
Everyone on there was 3-2.
I get it. I do get it. I just I don't think we've seen anything to believe this guy's good at college basketball, but maybe we'll be wrong. We also didn't really answer the question. I Maynard wanted like what's a best and worst case scenario, and instead we just kind of did like
I gave mine. I
Yeah,
said 10 and
no,
7.
Yeah, Riley said
10 and
10
7.
Best case.
Okay, 10 and 7. That works. Where are we? Can we call him Jalen the Stallion Cart?
I will not be, no.
I might call him Jalen the Stallion.
I recommend you don't.
Burner says, still been thinking about when Guy asked what the next half of his life is about to look like. And I am honestly still thinking about how Greg had a rap career that I didn't know about. Can we talk about this a little more? We can talk about it a little more. I had a rap career. What else do you want to know?
It was a good one, if I might chime in.
Goods. I don't know that it was a good one. Like it pretty much failed, right?
I mean, I think that your ceiling could have been like a Packy type, but you just mailed it in.
There is a world where like I apply all the creative energy I'm currently applying to Sleepers to like making music. And
True.
I don't know what that would have looked like.
At worst, I think you could have found your way as a reoccurring odd guy on the show, Dave. At worst, if you stuck with it.
I feel like I would have met Guy sooner somehow if that ended up being my life path. Who knows?
True.
Yeah, okay. I think we have like 1 or 2 more comments here. Ooh, Dreadhead Dev Royal to King, Howard family or Reese family. Howard family being Juwan, Jason, Jet, or Reese family being Julian and Angel.
I'm going. Is Joanna part of that?
I'm gonna take
doing Jet and Jace.
I don't care. I'm gonna take the Reese family.
I'm gonna take the Reese family.
I too will take the Reese family.
Yeah. Regress says Happy Riley Friday to those who celebrate. Remember, when Riley's around, every Friday is Good Friday. Riley.
Ooh.
The North Sentinel Island in the Indian Ocean is home to the mostly uncontacted indigenous tribe, the Sentinelese. I hate that I have to try and pronounce this. This tribe is renowned for repeatedly spurning external visitors to the island with immediate and often lethal violence. Do you believe that the current status of barring all visitors to the island is correct, or should further attempts to contact the tribe be made?
I think they should. I lean on the side of barring attempts to visit the island. And I love that Regress posed this question because I've read about this island before. And I think part of why, like a big part of why I would say they should keep up with barring visitors is, at least from what I read about these remote, desolate, like uncontacted indigenous tribes, they probably have like visitors could open them up to a world of disease and other like public health issues that would lead me to be on that side. However, I did say a few weeks ago I'm a pacifist, so I don't think that visitors should be met with lethal consequences should they try to make contact.
Card, any thoughts about visiting islands? I know that's an area of expertise for you.
I mean, if it's not the Grand Cayman, you probably count me out.
There's a couple other islands you've been to.
What island have I been to?
Let's move on. Fam says, Happy Bluffs Friday to all who celebrate. Father's Day has to be the toughest occasion to shop for. For guys that could get anything they want at any time, what's your suggestion for Father's Day gifts or excursions?
Oh, man, my dad is like the worst at Father's Day. There's so many gifts that I've given him that just like are just unused. And he's also the guy that doesn't want a lot and or get a lot. So when he does get stuff, he just gets it for himself. And it's very simple. I would go with clothes if I was if I was giving advice. Like I get my dad a Lululemon either gift card or just shirt or shorts and just let him rock out with it because everything else I try to give him is just too hard to get gifts for.
I like that shout, Riley.
Yeah, my dad's also exceptionally hard to buy for. A lot of things I've given him have had the same fate as Luther's gifts, and they go unused. Sometimes I play it safe and get an Amazon gift card, and he's cool with
Smart.
that. Other times, figure out a book that he wants to read. He's a big reader in general. I feel like where we can connect is over like sports related nonfiction. So if I can find anything in that genre, like a journalistic type book or like an autobiography ghost written by someone else of a sports figure that he cares about, those usually have a good hit rate.
That's solid. I'm a big like gift experiences guy for things like this. So for Father's Day this year, my dad and I are going to get fitted for golf clubs and playing golf on.
Oh, you're getting a new set of clubs?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm excited. Should be good.
It's gonna be dope.
Very excited. Let's see here. Coop says we need a Shams versus Woj cage match. Riley, Shams or Woj?
I'll go with Shams. Woj kind of seems like a nerd.
Same. I think Woj is old too.
Woj is that guy though, as today evidence.
Yeah.
Like
He
I'm
is,
here for
but he doesn't want to get in a cage match with Shams.
I prefer Shams and his style and the way he does things, but like, let's not forget who the big dog is. That's all I'm saying. Like every time we get a little too in on Shams, like,
Okay.
guys,
Really, really quickly here. Is this a safe space?
I don't know.
Okay. You know how like Sammy Sosa like came back white one summer?
Oh.
I'm just saying, and I'm not saying that you would be this white, but Riley, if Shams did come back white, you kind of look like Shams.
I can low-key see it. I'll take that as a compliment. Shams is a handsome guy.
Yeah.
It's one of the crazier things that's ever been said on this show. Final comment today. Guy says, here are teams I think are going to win each power conference. Iowa State, North Carolina, Florida and Bama split, UCLA and Indiana split, pending Hurley, UConn. Guy, I'm going to go first on this one. Throwing splits into that's soft. I'm going to need better for you. If you put the Sleepers logo, if you're part of this brand, like we don't split. We don't like say, here's who's going to win the conferences. It's a split. Everyone gets a piece. Like that's just gross. I need better from you, Guy. Carter, your thoughts?
Yeah, I feel the exact same way. Also, UCLA isn't splitting or winning a damn thing. Like what?
Riley?
Yeah, ditto what y'all said. Let's keep it
have
moving.
Hey, Riley, would you mind giving us a scripture reading?
Yeah, I do have a scripture reading for today. This actually comes from the book of Second Corinthians. It's a letter that Paul wrote to the church in Corinth. The second one he written. This is about stewarding what you have, giving it back to God, trusting him to use you. It is Second Corinthians 9:10. It says, now the one who provides seed for the sower and bread for food will also provide and multiply your seed and increase the harvest of your righteousness. It's one that I think is a good reminder for me to just, anything I do, I want to steward it, steward gifts that God has given me well. So sleepers, you have been awakened.
It's every time. Every time.
Yeah, I was going to try and somehow make the Stewart part into like a Stuart Scott, Stuart Little joke at Cart's expense, but he's not little, so I couldn't figure it out.
Good on you.
Cart, who are we presented by?
We're presented by the great folks over at 2K Labs.
We sure are. It's NBA 2K Lab. We are partnering with these guys for all of our NBA draft content leading up to the draft later this month. If you're unfamiliar with 2K Lab, they make a bunch of cool things that enhance your NBA 2K playing experience. If you're looking for the best badges, if you're looking for the best builds, best jump shots, and more, they are running a bunch of simulations that identify all the best things you can use for your My Player and plenty of more modes throughout the game. They have our big board on their site, NBA2KLab.com. You can see our full big board of our top 75 players in this NBA draft class that Riley, Ralph, Carter and myself collaborated on. And as we roll out all of these player scouting report videos, we're working down that big board. Go to NBA2klab.com. You can play their draft simulator where you can take control of a team, see our big board, and there's plenty more mini games as well on NBA2klab.com. Let's get to the show. Topic number 1, what we got?
We're going to play a game of best case, worst case. And we have been doing a lot of this with our NBA draft coverage and our scouting breakdowns and everything. Kind of set me up well for this. My mind has just been functioning in this world of two sides of the spectrum. So first up, I want to do it with the top 10 transfers per Evan Mia's algorithm for his website. So let's talk their best case stats, best case like fate of the team. Where does this team finish? How far do they get in the tournament? Or do they make the tournament even? Then we can do the same for worst case.
I love this. I love this. Okay.
You want me to kick it off? We got Kadari Richmond, number 1.
Yeah. I like this. Oh boy. Car, you go first.
Okay. So okay, stats wise, I don't like necessarily the surrounding parts as much with this team. Like I'm not the biggest Davion Smith guy. Also, I think Davion Smith is a guy who also needs to have the ball in his hands to like actually be impactful. And I don't think that's very conducive to what Kadari should be. Like he should have like the highest usage rate, I think, in the country. So I'm assuming Patino's going to shift more to that. I would say his numbers are going to be like 17, 17, 6, and 6. So like fairly similar to what it was at Seton Hall, to be honest. But like maybe a little bit better of a shooter, hopefully. He shot 27% from 3 last season.
What about in that situation? Where does St. John's finish in best case? Do they make the tournament? How far do they go?
Oh, well, if Hurley leaves, I think they might make the tournament. But I do think that St. John's will find their way in this year. I think it'll be, honestly, maybe the same case scenario as last season, but the committee will do a little bit of a charity case for Patino. Like, we kept you guys out last year. We probably should have threw you in. We'll give you the benefit of the doubt. We'll at least throw you in there this season.
I think the best case scenario is National Player of the Year. I do.
Wow.
I think he's that good. He could damn near like get 5 triple doubles. Like it could happen. I don't think that's likely to happen, but I think it's possible. And if that happens, I think St. John's could be really, really good. Like really good. Like top of the Big East good. If it's the worst case scenario, it looks a lot like last year, I think, right? Like they just missed the tournament. And I don't think there's a world where Kadari isn't productive. So same numbers as last year.
Yeah, that's where I'm at with you. I still think he'll give you 16, 17 a game, even if it's for an NIT team. So
Yep.
Let's move on to number 2. We got Coleman Hawkins. You can take this any direction you want. I sort of went on this with the assumption
He ends up at Louisville when I was thinking their best and worst case, but either one of you want to kick it off with the best case scenario for our guy, Coleman Hawkins.
Ooh. I mean, honestly, I know we're Coleman Hawkins guys, Coleman Hawkins believer. I think the best case for him is that he's like a first team all ACC guy, and that Louisville's good. Like Louisville becomes a top 4 team. They make the tournament. They maybe win a game or 2. But I think the best case scenario is that Coleman is a guy that is filling the stat sheet. He's affected things defensively, and he's considered one of the best bigs in the ACC. Worst case scenario is that his point guard is Chucky Hepburn and everything goes to hell and Pat Kelsey is PJ Fleck, like Greg says, and they win some more games, right? It won't be as bad as Kenny Payne, but they'll still be bad, like win 12 games bad.
Yeah.
I think the floors. Go
ahead, Greg.
No, I think the best case scenario is either UNC calls him and pays him what he wants and he starts for North Carolina, or Dan Hurley takes the Lakers job and it sets off a ripple effect of like Nate Oates to UConn, and then Nate Oates asks Coleman Hawkins to be his starting 4 next year. There's a lot of chaos that could happen. That's the best case. The worst case is he goes to SMU and he averages like 9 and 3 and then doesn't even get invited to the combine next year.
Yeah, the worst case makes me sad, whether it's at Louisville or SMU, just that it results in an unhappy Coleman on a losing team and his stats don't really increase from his Louisville days. I'm with Carter on the best case. If it does end up Louisville, I would say the best case is they win the ACC. I think there's a world where that happens because, yeah, I'm a Chucky Hepburn skeptic, but I kind of love where they're at positions 3, 4, and 5, and the depth they have there. So I think that's possible.
Yeah. Yeah.
But let's move on to number 3, Umar Ballo.
I feel like Greg should lead this one off.
Yeah, Greg, floor is yours.
I mean, best case scenario is he averages a double-double, like 15 and 10. Is honestly, yeah, the best case scenario is he's the Big Ten Player of the Year, and Indiana wins the Big Ten outright, and they're a very high seed in the NCAA tournament. The worst case scenario, I think, is like 10 and 8. Like he's still going to be really good. But the worst case scenario is probably Indiana stinks and it's clunky and renewing him doesn't work and the guards flop.
Yeah, I'd go along the same lines there. I think that Umar Ballo's like floor worst case scenario is still like 9 and 9. I think the best case scenario is he's a guy who's pushing close to honestly 20 points a game. Like I'm talking like 18 and 12. Like I don't know what Kofi Coburn average, but like Kofi Coburn Gildan brand is possibly what Umar could do, and the team's very successful. Worst case scenario is that Miles Rice is the second coming of Xavier Johnson, and Gay Cups is Gay Cups, and Trey Galloway can't shoot, and the team goes to shit, and Mike Woodson gets fired. But Ballo's going to average 9 and 9.
Yeah. I think I would say worst case, in my opinion, is a little bit higher. I find it really, really tough to see them not make the tournament just with Ballo and the guys who can sort of feed him and the guard upgrade. But I don't think it's that out there to say it all crashes and burns. Next up, number 4, guy very near and dear to Carter's heart, AJ Hoggard, 4th best transfer per Evan Mia, best and worst case for Mr. Hoggard at Vandy. Anchor down.
Anchor down. Boy, shaped like an anchor. I think that the best case scenario for AJ Hoggard is honestly I think he could put up some special numbers. Like that's the thing with AJ Hoggard. He very, very, very well could. Like I could see him averaging close to 15 points a game, 7 assists, 4 rebounds. Like I think the numbers could be there. Unfortunately, I don't see it outside of him with this Vanderbilt team. And Vanderbilt fans have been trying to tell me like they're doing something, but like I just can't really buy it, to be honest with you. I do like the coach they got from James Madison, but outside of that, I really don't see it being that great. So best case scenario is Hoggard gets those stats and they reach the NIT semifinals. Worst case scenario is AJ Hoggard does what he did at Michigan State.
I think best case scenario is like honorable mention at all SEC. He's the best player on Vanderbilt, and they're bad still. But like he could be the best player on a bad team and get respect from people. The worst case scenario is he's like the 5th best player on the team. He misses a bunch of games, and Vanderbilt wins 6 games.
It's a really low floor, but I'm with you. Looking at this roster, I'm like, best case for postseason hopes is it would be a miracle, I think, if they got to the NIT. But like you said, Vandy fans who are into it, like shout out to Vandy fans. They're sneakily there online.
Yeah, they really are.
Like they exist. They exist a lot more than I expected. Moving on, we have number 5, JT Toppin. I freaking love JT Toppin. I think he's ceiling is first team all Big 12. I think he could average something like 15 and 9. I mean, he averaged nearly a double-double as a freshman. I think he's going to get featured. He's got a point guard in Elijah Hawkins who is going to make sure he gets his touches and is going to make sure he gets his he's going to make sure he gets his lobs thrown to him. So, yeah, I think Toppin has like first team all Big 12 potential. I think Texas Tech could be a second weekend team.
I'm with you. I second what Riley said. I'm one of the biggest JT Toppin fans out there. I think that he's in for a monstrous season.
Yeah, I'm lower on him than you guys are, but I don't care enough to fight you on it. So I'll just take what you guys are. I don't think it's like a guarantee he's a stud or anything though.
Do you have any thoughts on like worst case if it doesn't work out for JT?
I just think Texas Tech's like they missed the tournament because JT Toppin needs to be their best player. Like that's
I
on
can
the
see
table
that, yeah.
here. He might not be like best player on a good Big 12 team. Good.
Number 6 per Evans rankings was Mark Mitchell. I pulled rank and said, get him out of here. Give me Big Cliff instead. No one wants to talk about Missouri. So
thank you for pulling rank there. I think best case scenario, Cliff is like national defensive player of the year. I think that he's first team all SEC. And Bama wins the title. Bama basically reaches the ceiling that everyone thinks they're going to reach, and they get over the hump. And like him and Mark Sears are just like one of the best like 1-2 punches, I guess, or like guard big combo in the country. Worst case scenario is that we come to the realization that it wasn't Pikel. It was kind of just Cliff. Like Pikel wasn't holding back Cliff. Cliff honestly needed to just stay, just because he's limited offensively, and everything like that. But also like his floor that I just described, at worst, he's gonna block 2 shots a game.
Mhm.
So like that's not that bad of a scenario.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Go ahead, Riley.
I think his floor is so high just because the guards around him are going to be better than he ever had at Rutgers, to where, like you said, even if he just does like 10 and 8 like he did last year with 2 blocks a game, he's still going to be very, very impactful for what should be a good team. The only way I could see it dropping out is if the rest of his team stays as bad at defense as they were last year, but it's like a brand new roster, maybe not brand new, but there's a lot because Sears is back, but they have a lot of new pieces maybe they're better defensively collectively.
I think the worst case scenario here is that he's not Alabama's starting big by the end of the season. I think that's possible. I don't expect that to happen, but I think it's possible. I think like Jaron Stevenson could take over him if Jaron Stevenson's like really good. Be a good thing for Alabama if that happened. But I don't know. I think there will be a moment where Alabama kind of discovers like Cliff just is what he is, and that's like 10 and 8 from a guy who physically could have been capable for like 16 and 12. Like he kind of has lapses, even though he's this physical beast. And those lapses, I do get concerned. Those lapses could show themselves a lot more in an up-tempo, high-level top 5 team in the country than they did at Rutgers, where everything's gross no matter what, and you blame Pikel for it and not the personnel.
I like that shout, especially because I think Grant Nelson might be best as a 5, in which case you move him to the 5. Like, you have Jaron Stevenson, you have Aiden Sherrill. I guess Sherrill might be more of a 5. You have Darian Reed. Any of those dudes can play the 4. And if they're more dynamic, it could push. Again, that's absolute worst case. Don't think it'll happen, but there is a world where Cliff is relegated to the bench.
Yeah,
I see it.
100%.
Let's talk Jonas Adu. I think I'll go ahead and hit worst case here. Worst case here is Big Z is who we thought he was in the Georgia game, and Adu is like a 6-man type, 7th man type on this roster, and Big Z takes all the minutes at the 5, and they look at Brazil or Thiero at the 4.
Yeah, that definitely is probably the worst case scenario. Is that like, and is that awful for Arkansas? Shit, maybe not. But I think best case scenario is that Adu was a guy who was able to rebound at a high level, in honestly limited minutes, I would say. So his best case scenario is he's a guy who can stay on the floor for 30-ish minutes a game, average probably 15 and 8. So like really good stats, and probably block like 2 shots a game, and be like a second team, first team, maybe all SEC big, and be one of the better bigs in the country.
Yeah. I like Adu. I think, best case, he's exactly what he was at Tennessee, and Arkansas is good. Worst case, Ivisic takes his job. Pretty simple, I think, and that's it. I don't know. Wide range.
Shout out Big Do.
Let's fly through these last 3. Norshad Omir.
What's the award for national, like the best big in the country?
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar Award?
Maybe. I think like Norchad wins the Jabbar Award and Baylor wins the Big 12.
Yeah, I like that. I think best case again, he's putting up 17 and 10 like he's done for most of his career.
Yeah. Like, and worst case, also like double, like Balo level type floor, but maybe it just doesn't work out with Baylor as team success.
Mm-hmm.
Best case, he's the best player on the national champion. Yep.
A lot of love for
Wow.
Omer. I would just add with worst case, he's not a good defender. Baylor's had defensive issues the past couple of years, and he'll put up numbers, but worst case would be Baylor bows out in the first weekend again. Let's go to Greg's boy, Vlad Golden.
Worst case scenario, he's worse than Kayshawn Pryor. Best case scenario, he's first team All Big Ten. Michigan is like a 6 seed.
Yeah. I mean, I'd say the best case, honestly, is if he's able to maintain the same stats that he had at FAU. So like what, 16 and 7 is what it was, G? 16 and 8, 16 and
Yeah,
8.
16-7. Yeah.
Yeah, 16-7, and Michigan is a tournament team and a top 4 team in the Big Ten. That's the best case. Worst case, once again, like with bigs like his size and a lot of the bigs we're talking about here, the floor is really not the worst thing in the world. Like I think his floor is maybe more so his minutes get cut because like Dusty shifts to maybe like a more Danny Wolf, Sam Walters front court. That's probably the worst case scenario, but I think he'd still be productive. It just be in limited minutes.
Yeah. There's definitely a competition threat, but I don't think like Dusty's relationship with Vlad probably stops some of that. I don't think he would like.
Yeah,
screw
I
Vlad
do.
over.
But we talked about it before. I like if Golden's for whatever reason just it isn't working out. Like, what does Dusty's like pivot from that?
Yeah.
Is it like ride it out, or is it let's see what else we can make happen?
For sure.
Last one, number 10. We go from a player near and dear to Greg's heart to one who is it's a fellow Dylan that if I know anything about Carter Elliott, he is part of this hive with me. It's Dylan Mitchell leaving the confines of Austin, Texas. He's going to Cincinnati. What do you think? I want to go so bold with this and say Dylan Mitchell ceiling as he finally puts it together, averages like 16 a game and 7 boards, and leads Cincy to a top 5 finish in the Big 12. I don't know if that happens. The best case for Dylan Mitchell is he shoots like 30% from 3 and averages like 12 a game, does what he does on the glass, and since he makes the tournament.
Yeah, I probably go same best case. Worst case is he wins that dunk contest that's at the Final Four every year.
That would be so miserable. I don't want that for Dylan Mitchell. I need him to put it together.
Either do I. Just let that be known.
Worst case scenario is he gets worse. But I want that on record. Like somehow he gets worse. And yeah, since he's a disaster, I think that's possible. But that probably won't happen.
Yeah. We believe, Dylan. We believe.
Yeah, do we? Do we? Are we sure?
Riley
okay, maybe.
do.
Yeah, Carter and I.
We's a really strong word. What's topic 2, Riley?
Topic 2 is we're going to play a game of best case, worst case. This time with freshmen, incoming freshmen, and let's do the top 5 freshmen we have coming in.
Ooh, top 5 freshmen we have. Okay.
So I'm going to kick us off with Cooper Flagg. Who wants to take best case here for Coop?
I mean, we all know the best case, don't we?
I mean, best case is that he's generational. Like he's generational. Yeah. He's National Player of the Year. He has a Zion Williamson level effect on Duke's team, and Duke does it. Duke wins a national title, and Cooper Flagg does like the whole. Who was the last was it Anthony Davis who was freshman year was just like the best player in the country and became the number 1 pick, and it will look like that. That is the best case scenario.
Yeah. The best case is like Duke's entire student body starts bringing white flags to games, and like they sell white flags, and it's like raise the flag, and the Brotherhood becomes the flagship, and Like for decades onward, he's considered the greatest player in Duke history. Like that's on the table here.
If any of that comes remotely close to happening, if Duke wins the title, I'm gonna need a 2-month break in the spring, and this will become Guy days, and I will let Guy take my place, and you have to deal with the consequences if he says some out of pocket stuff about Georgia Tech.
Great.
What about worst case for Coop?
Does Coop have a shoe deal yet?
I don't think so. No.
His worst case to me is like the Zion like Adidas shoe deal where he just like busts a shoe and gets hurt and we never hear from him again. And then he falls in love with like strippers.
You want to know my really, really worst case?
Yeah.
And this is very, very negative here. Like we realize that Coop he kind of is a funky jumper, and it becomes like a Michael Kidd Gilchrist like level player because of his jumper. I know it's ugly though. It's ugly.
I will add, I don't think Coop comes anywhere close to his floor. I think my prediction for most likely outcome is a Marvin Bagley type impact where he's averaging like 17 and 8, probably. I'm not saying he's the same player as Marvin Bagley. I'm just saying similar type impact where like Bagley could take over a game and he will Duke to the Elite Eight that year. I guess he had good players around him, but he was a pretty unstoppable force at Duke. I think of Bagley as like better than Brandon Ingram, not as good as Zion or Paulo in terms of like Duke one and dones.
Okay. First off, on behalf of all Duke fans and every Flag family member, I resent the fact that you're comparing him to Marvin Bagley right now.
I'm not comparing him to Marvin Bagley. I'm saying it's a similar. Bagley was a problem at Duke. That team was awesome.
Yeah, there's been a lot of problems at Duke. Some problems are bigger than others. And just if you think Cooper Flag's going to be like Bagley-esque, I think you got to prepare yourself.
Bagley was the ACC Player of the Year.
I
when
understand.
the ACC was loaded.
I understand.
What are we doing? How is that an insult?
There's still some levels to this shit, Riley. Like
Flag wasn't even the leading scorer at Montverde. Derek Queen led that team in points per game.
Okay, so that's where you're at. I get where you're at now. I got it. He wasn't the leading scorer at Montverde for this guy. This guy's transcendent.
I think he is too, but I don't think he's going to be Paulo.
Then again, I would encourage you to prepare yourself for what your worst case scenario is. Then
you think he's going to be Paulo level?
I think saying he's Marvin Bagley, not Paulo, before he even puts on a Duke uniform is insane. I think this kid projects to be as good as Paulo. Yes.
I just don't know if he's good. I don't think he's going to be as good as Paulo.
Okay.
And my floor was going to be the point that he wasn't the leading scorer at Montverde, to where maybe some outcome with that happens where the scoring isn't quite where his defense is.
Possible.
Who's number two?
Number 2, I'm lumping 2 and 3 together with Ace Bailey and Dylan Harper, because I think they kind of will work in conjunction with each other for best case.
A best case scenario, I think that Dylan Harper is Big Ten Player of the Year. I think he's that good
over Ace.
Yes, I think that he could be Big Ten Player of the Year. I think he'd be first team All Big Ten. I think like this, as much as people are reluctant because of Rutgers' offense, and that's very, very well the case. But you also have to look glass half full here. The best case scenario is that this just like works, and Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey are that dynamic, and them being that dynamic makes Rutgers that good. So like, yeah, I think if the best case scenario is that they're dynamic, Rutgers is great, and it gets to the point where like people are like, like, do we want to pick Dylan Harper over Cooper Flag?
Yeah, I agree with Card. Actually, you've sort of convinced me this is way more possible than I've said all summer. I think it is possible Rutgers wins the Big Ten by like multiple games because these guys are just awesome. That's the best case. The worst case to me is we end up with like a little Angel Reese, Flau'jae Johnson situation where like Cooper Flag is so good and Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey get so jealous that they try to instigate like an us versus him war. and it gets really
Oh,
toxic. And
great.
yeah, that's my worst
College
case.
basketball, men's college basketball race war.
That's
Exactly what we need.
that is my worst case scenario for the Rutgers duo.
All right, VJ Edgecombe, number 4.
Wait, Riley, you don't want to do more race war?
I do not.
I respect that. I'd actually ask Greg to go first on VJ Edgecombe because I feel like
Yeah.
I mean, I'm in on him too, but like I think Greg
Yeah.
thinks like he's gonna be one of the best freshmen in the country.
I think you could take everything we said for Norchad and just put it onto VJ, but
Yeah.
I think those are the 2 best players on Baylor next season for the record. So it's not like I would say this for Jeremy Roach. I think VJ could win Freshman of the Year. I think he could be in first team All-American, and I think Baylor could win a national championship.
Yeah, I would say the same. I think like that would be the big 3 to me. Like VJ Edgecombe is that dynamic. You put him with the winningness experience of Jeremy Roach with the production that he has, and then Norchad is that good down low as well. That Baylor just they don't sneak up on anybody because they're gonna be really good. But it's like they win the Big 12 over Kansas. They make the run. They win a national title. And it's with Edgecombe being the best player. That is the best. The worst case is I guess Keontae George level season. Like he's productive, but like it doesn't lead to anything, and it doesn't work. And maybe him and Jeremy Roach clash during the season.
Yeah, I'm with that.
Agreed.
All right,
The worst case is Scott Drew takes the UConn job after Dan Hurley leaves for the Lakers, and VJ is like, huh? Where do I go?
Michigan.
Could happen. Last one. Trey Johnson.
Okay. Yeah, it's time. Excuse me. I need to take the floor. The best case scenario is we see the best backcourt that we have seen in the last 25 years between Jordan Pope and Trey Johnson. Rodney Terry beats the allegations. And Texas wins the Big 12. And Texas is a Final Four team. That's the best case scenario. Trey Johnson is that good. He is that dynamic. The offensive firepower that they could have in that backcourt between him and Pope is going to make them one of the toughest checks in the country for any guard combo that's coming in there. They got to be ready for that. Worst case scenario here, Rodney Terry does not beat the allegations. This is his last season that I'm giving him leeway. I will be fully out on the horns. I will not hook anything. I won't even throw my coat on a hook anymore if he blows it this season.
I will not hook anything is crazy because you still play golf.
I slice. I don't hook.
Got it. The best case scenario for Trey Johnson is that I learn who he is at some point this season. That would be good. I hope that happens.
I need you to learn.
Seriously, G.
If you love Edgecombe, you will love Trey Johnson.
Yeah, I would love to be familiar with him. I'm not. Sorry, I don't know. Like, I normally try. I do. I don't know who this is.
I respect it.
What's topic 3?
Okay, I got to get ahead of this for when people in the comments start saying, oh, this is UNC Friday.
Now, this was suggested by Greg. I am indulging Greg to make fun of my team. We can talk UNC center issues and why they're not pursuing a 5 right now and why I'm sad about it. Do you want to lead off, Greg, or do you want me to just vent?
Let me set the table, and then I think it's only right that you just take the microphone and do whatever you want with the microphone. It's like you're at my wedding and you're my dad, and you raised me for 18 years, and then you watched me blossom into the young man that I am 7 years later. And it's your moment. You get to do whatever you want. That's how I feel. I wanted to talk about this because Carter made a really interesting point earlier this week to me that I agree with completely, which is every single fan base right now seems to be explaining away either mistakes or misses as if it was always the plan. I'm seeing that with every fan base. I'm seeing that with my Michigan fan base right now as the Jameer Watkins recruitment plays out. I've seen it with Michigan State. We're certainly seeing it with Illinois. I think we saw it with Purdue to an extent with the Gillis stuff, but even that probably was the plan. Anyways, the point is North Carolina has been rumored with like 100 different front court players. Like every single week, there's a new, here's our guy. Like you've gone through it with me. It was Cliff. It was Danny Wolf early. Then it was Onyensu. Like, I know I'm missing like 7 other guys. And one by one, North Carolina didn't get them. And now I'm sitting here dealing with our comment section being like, you guys are idiots. North Carolina backed out of this recruitment. And then I'm texting you about it, and you're like, yeah, actually, like, North Carolina pulled out from Uganda a week ago. So my question is, why? Like, why when Trilly is reporting that it's North Carolina and Kansas State getting a visit this week, why is Hubert pulling out of the recruitment when he's one of 2 schools getting a visit? And why has this happened with every single target? And if he is, whether or not he's pulling out, why has North Carolina not gotten a big man this offseason? I don't get it.
I don't get the why either. I will say Danny Wolf was not a miss. UNC didn't really recruit him. I think he reached out.
How many of these guys weren't recruited? Because it was like you guys were flirting with a visit with Danny Wolf, right? And then he just never visited. That's the same thing with Uganda.
No, I think UNC thought they were getting Adu or Cliff and moved on from Danny Wolf. Adu and Cliff were misses. There's no way to sugarcoat that. They missed on both of them. Everything that I have heard, and this is I'm in a similar situation with y'all. Like, we talk to national guys, we hear things, we have connections to various programs, we hear things. UNC is very, very competitive in NIL. They have money. NIL has not been the issue. I don't know. This is where I have to say I don't know where the pitch hasn't resonated with Cliff, with Adu, to where they couldn't get Adu on campus. Adu went to Arkansas, had a visit scheduled with UNC, canceled the UNC visit, and committed on his Arkansas visit. Don't know whatever happened with Aaron Bradshaw. That was short-lived. If you want to call that a miss, I'll give it to you. Who else is there? Ballo. They had an initial call with Umar Ballo. His recruitment was wrapped up. Really.
Did you mention Omer? Were you guys ever in on Omer?
No, we were never in on Omer.
Yeah,
like, I would have loved for.
Okay, I'm fine with like defining miss however you want to define it. Back to the Danny Wolf thought process. Michigan got Danny Wolf for $300,000. Like, would it be fair to say, given what has happened to you, you should have just outbid Michigan there? Like, there's been a bazillion gettable front court guys you haven't gotten.
Yeah, I think UNC focused on Cliff and Adu. You could say maybe they narrowed their pool too quickly, and Wolf committed to Michigan and during that time span. Yeah. I would say I am not happy with UNC's front court situation. I don't think that it's just going to be great. Like, the optimist in me thinks, like, between Van Allen Lubin and Jalen Washington and Jalen Withers and Zayden High, you can scrap together 40 competent minutes at the center position.
So what happened with Onyenso?
So Onyenso, look, I don't have any intel on that. All I know is on the day of the NBA draft deadline, that Inside Carolina, who in my opinion is like the gold standard of UNC related reporting, they reported that UNC was no longer pursuing Onyenso.
So they just, the day it got announced they were going to get a visit from Onyenso, they decided they don't want a visit from Onyenso?
I think it was like 2 or 3 days later when it was there was that the Tipton report that he ended up like, I'm not throwing Tipton under the bus. Hopefully that doesn't sound like that, but it was something that was initially published that, like, by On3 that Onyenso would take a UNC visit, and then they took it down like later that same day. I don't know what happened.
Do we think it's money?
I mean, I think UNC has the money to spend on Onyenso if they want to. I don't know if they wanted to. I want them to. I want Big U. I would love UConn Onyenso and Carolina Blue at Argyle.
I agree with that. I think the biggest misstep y'all took in this process is that, like, you got Lubin, right? But you're still going to get other bigs. Get Danny Wolf early, and you can still get a bunch of bigs if you want to. That's the miss. I like what Hubert. I do like what he got in, like, K Tyson, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
too.
Even Lubin, I think it doesn't get enough credit for his production. I think that's a good player. All in all, like, if we're grading the offseason outside of, like, getting RJ Davis back, we're just grading it on how the transfer portal strategy was put forward, attacked, executed. Like, you get some points for K Tyson, you get some points for Lubin, but it's like a C-, D+, like, transfer portal offseason.
That's where I'm at with it. I'd say like a C-.
Where it shouldn't be, because this is where will frustrate me most if I'm a UNC fan. you have this window right now where you got blessed with another year of RJ Davis and you have all this money and you're UNC. Go do what you could have. You can push back on this if you want, Riley. Hubert Davis could have did the exact same thing that Nate Oates did, and he didn't do it.
Yeah.
Which is just like fill all your scholarships and let it all see how the chips fall.
Get 15 killers and figure it out.
Yeah. I mean, I love Hubert. I went on record back in December and said, that's our coach. I am in. I still trust him. I trust his roster building. I trust his ability to recruit. This has really been the first offseason since he's been the head coach that he has had misses in the portal. I know Pete Nance didn't work out. Everybody wanted Pete Nance. I know Dawson Garcia didn't work out. Everybody wanted Dawson Garcia. Then you see the hits of like Brady Manick, Harrison Ingram, Cormac Ryan, to where like he has done well in the portal thus far. And that's part of why it was so surprising to me to see the miss on Cliff, the miss on Adu. I'm sure they're going to change things up going forward with how they approach the portal. It's just it's a bummer to see, to just feel like there could have been better players at least considered for RJ's last season.
Yeah, I just don't understand it. That's my thing. Like whether or not it's like missing or not, that's what I want to know, because at some point we are going to grade North Carolina's offseason. And I guess I just like I hear, okay, we backed out of guys we could pay for that are good. Okay? Why? So you decide like that would signal to me, if you backed out of Danny Wolf and you backed out of Ugana Yensu, that Hubert, one, yes, thought there were better players he could get with Wolf, or two, thinks his center spot's fine. But you don't, if you think your center spot's fine, you don't target 7 centers in the summer. Like he tried to get 7 centers. He didn't get any of them. And some of them you're telling me he backed out of. Some of them you're telling me just chose other schools. But you're also telling me we have the money to get whoever we want. So did they just literally lose? Nobody wants to play center at North Carolina right now? Like, I have a hard time believing that. It makes no sense to me.
I don't know why they backed out of Onyenso. Like, unless it's like maybe they don't see him as that big of an upgrade or like that much of a game changer to warrant the price tag. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I said, I would love Big U in Chapel Hill, but I'm not the coach.
So who starts at center?
As of right now, I think the day one starter would be, there's part of me that wants to say Jalen Withers.
Oh, boy.
But maybe I'm going to go with Jalen Washington. I think Washington has more upside.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, death by lethal injection or death by the chair, but yeah.
One big thing presented by Hubert Davis. Riley, what do you have today?
I want to give a shout out to this Instagram account, OJ Swishmaker. Are you familiar with this kid, Owen, from Nebraska?
No.
I am,
Greg?
yes.
Kid is vlogging his journey to make his varsity high school team, and it's inspiring.
Yeah.
It inspires me to be better. It inspires me to get in the lab. I have told y'all offline about my struggles with my YMCA men's group that plays every Monday, Wednesday, Friday recently. I got my lick back yesterday, and I credit being inspired by OJ Swishmaker for making me be better, for making me get in the gym, get some shots up, do some skill work on my handle. So yeah, you're an inspiration everywhere, OJ.
Yeah.
What's up?
I love that kid's account. Have you seen the off-brand OJ Swishmaker, Riley?
I have not.
So OJ Swishmaker's great. Love him. He's this precious little high school kid who like really, it looked like he was on the verge of getting cut early, and he's got a lot better basketball. It's awesome. And then there's this kid doing the exact same thing who is like a good high school player, but who like thinks he should be a Division I basketball player. And he like has like a 1 on the sides and like fake earrings. He's just awful. And it's vlogging every single day, one video on my goal to get a Division I scholarship. And he'll just like film himself like, I got so frustrated I couldn't hit shit today. And he's like throwing a basketball at a brick wall. It's so awful, but I cringe watch it after I watch OJ's videos every day. It's great.
That's classic. Well, since we're shouting out social media accounts, I don't have a specific one to shout out, but I would just like to shout out the TikTok accounts that come up with these one pan dishes to make. I've been having a good time like making one pan dishes for dinner. Like those are incredible. There was one where it's just like I think it's just like tomatoes, seasoned chicken, like a little bit of feta and like a pinch of cottage cheese. And I hate cottage cheese, but like you don't even taste it. And it just makes like this creamy red, like fettuccine like pasta, like all in one dish. Absolutely love it. Less dishes, great food. And it separates me from my air fryer. I've been trying to make my way away from the air fryer as I approach fatherhood.
Mm. Any specific reason on that? Just trying to like be healthier or what?
No, actually, it doesn't even make much sense in my head when I say it out loud, but I'm doing it.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. All right. Riley, do you have an air fryer?
I don't.
We're a big air fryer household.
Riley probably takes like an air fryer as like a disgrace to cooking. Like
I do think it's a little bit of taking the easy way out, but
yeah,
it's okay.
he spits on air fryers. He rather sous vide his food.
Listen, I am always pro take the easy way out. I want to make that unequivocally clear. And love air fryers. Also, air fryer was my nickname for Ed Cooley's last team at Providence. I called them the air fryers, and I was really mad nobody ever picked up on that.
Damn. Should have been.
It was nice. Okay, my one big thing. I made a friend yesterday. I'd like to talk about the friend that I made.
In front of us?
Yeah, I made a friend yesterday.
Ooh.
So I went golfing last night with my dad, and we were going out home course like after the leagues got out. We were the first tee time right after a league, so we knew it was going to be a slow round. And we get there, just trying to play 9 holes like 6 p.m. and find out we got paired with a solo dude, nice enough looking dude. Pull up, he's drinking a Two-Hearted at 6 p.m. by himself in a golf cart. He's like, I think I'm paired with you guys. Shake his hand. Find out his name is Mitch. I'm thinking it's gonna be awkward. I don't like getting paired with random people. Blah blah blah. Quickly come to find out, we lived parallel lives, gentlemen. This young man, Mitch, went to Michigan State University, where he met his current girlfriend, who went to Portage Central High School, which is where my wife went. He moved here recently, lives in an apartment in Kalamazoo, and was a marketing major at Michigan State. Grew up in Lansing, grew up in Grand Ledge, which is the same township district that I grew up in, knows a bunch of like mutual friends of mine. So just hit it off. Had a great time golfing. I would say we're very similar caliber golfers. The kid hoops. He played basketball in high school. He plays pickup here in Kalamazoo. He knows Jimmy Cotter, who officiated my wedding, guy I coached with that I love, who's from Grand Ledge. Just small world stuff. And at the end, not to brag, but I got this man's phone number. He asked me for my phone number so that he could text me to maybe golf again or play basketball. And I want to shed some light on how important it is for grown men to still make friends, because that's good for your mental health.
I do love that. Quickest way to get me to care about a golf story is to mention a Two-Hearted Ale, as you both know too. So
yeah, I see you out there going hard on the dudes, Greg. Salute.
Also, I chipped in, and that was big. When you meet a new friend and you chip in, that's huge. All right, let's stop doing this. Goodbye.